we the British have got a scorpion on our back at the moment, haven't we? That's the reality of it. And the people in charge don't believe there's a scorpion there, or don't want to believe.
Is this inherent in the Pakistani community? If it is, we'll see other examples of this, historic examples of when they've done this type of thing before.
You mentioned you wrote an article during the week about the Bangladesh Liberation War.
Pakistani Civil War, yeah.
Pakistani Civil War.
Yeah.
Was that between Pakistan and Bangladesh, was it?
Well, at that time they were called East Pakistan and West Pakistan.
Right, yeah. And you drew some parallels, I think, to what's happening now. Do you want to just let our viewers know what that's about?
So the article was looking at the grooming gangs and asking the question, is this a cultural trait? Is this inherent in the Pakistani community? If it is, we'll see other examples of this, historic examples of when they've done this type of thing before. So I start off with Islam. So there's evidence in the Quran. You know, we know Muhammad married a 6-year-old, but do you know what? Our kings were marrying children to join kingdoms together. But Muhammad went one step further and consummated the marriage when she was 9. I don't think European kings were having sex with 9-year-old queens. So it's in there. It's also in the Quran that Muhammad had sex slaves. He was given sex slaves as well. Women you captured in war became war booty, and you could rape them. And then I then looked at the 1971 Pakistani Civil War, when East Pakistan wanted to break away and become independent, and eventually became Bangladesh in 1971. Well documented. There's been tribunals on this in Pakistan, war crime tribunals, and they reckon at least 250,000 Bangladeshi women were raped in that year. And they've highlighted thousands of what we would call now Pakistani men who were involved. There's evidence and proper evidence from the time that imams and mosques in Pakistan were telling soldiers that this is okay to do. They're non-believers, they're not really Muslims, they pretend to be Muslims. This is classed as war booty, you can rape as many as you want. And that was being talked about in Pakistan at that time as if it was normal. And then we had mass immigration into this country, and we look at the culture then. We've talked about cousin marriage.
And this is not that far away, is it? 1971 it's not that long ago, is it, really?
That will be some of the guys who are gang raping children in our country. This will be their fathers.
Yeah.
So it's it's not long ago at all. We talked about cousin marriage, and what cousin marriage does in those communities is reinforce the clan, where everyone belongs to the same family clan. That breeds and fosters a sense of the other. You're not like us. And that's what they were being told about the Bangladeshi women. But when that community has moved here, they're now looking at white Christians, so not brown Muslims, and look what they did to brown Muslims. They're now looking at white Christians and thinking, you're not like us. You're the other. And if you're the other, that means we can abuse you because you're not even Muslim. And you're just, as they were called, you're just a white slag. And that was the article was about looking at how they could do this. And the argument was it's a cultural trait.
And this concept of the infidel, I think they call it the kafir, don't they?
Yeah.
Which is basically the non-Muslim.
Yeah.
And the state of war. And I think your point about the idea of these women as being booty in a war, in a war, basically.
Spoils of war.
Yeah. So almost being disregarded as human beings in terms of the fact they are just part of the prize they win in a war against other religions, whether that may be Christian.
Yeah, and we've got a more modern example of that, but not about the Pakistani community. In Syria, ISIS enslaved all the Yazidi women. I'm not sure what religion they are, some sort of Christianity or whatever they are.
Yeah.
Captured them all, enslaved them all, sold them at slave markets. A lot of this is online and videos of this online. We've all got phones now. It's only 10 years ago. And some of those women were burnt alive if they didn't succumb to being a sex slave. And others are telling their story now, being raped thousands of times and being sold online. There's actually price lists, documents of price lists of what these women were worth. If you was a woman over 50, you weren't worth much. If you was a child under 6, you weren't worth much. But women in between, different categories, depending on how much you were worth. You could buy a woman in Syria, a Yazidi woman in Syria, for the price of a box of cigarettes, a packet of cigarettes. That's how cheap they were going. And that's 10 years ago. On the border of Europe, Syria is only next to Turkey.
Yeah. Well, Syria is the Mediterranean, isn't it?
Yeah.
Basically, yeah. So, yeah. And I think the point you're making here is not that all Muslims or Pakistanis are rapists or whatever. What you're saying is, culturally, this is something that is not that distant. What is happening to these girls? This is something that is not that distant in the memory of these countries where these people have come from.
This is their culture. This is what happens in their homelands. They've only been here, some of them, 1 or 2 generations. And we think we're going to, without even trying, we think we're going to get them to reject 2,000 years of their culture.
Yeah.
We think we're going to get them to reject an ideology that was whispered in the sand dunes of the Arabian Peninsula.
It's a very romantic vision.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But you look at, the person they respect the most is Muhammad.
Yeah.
He did all these things.
Yeah. Yeah.
And Islam needs a reformation.
Yes.
And I think it's coming. My latest article, that's not out yet for free. It'll be out next week for free. That's all about how the internet is going to destroy Islam. And out of that, we'll have a reformation and we'll have a modern version of Islam fit for the 21st century.
Well, isn't that happening now?
Yep.
Isn't that happening now with Twitter, with YouTube, all that now? Yep. These things are now being shown in the light of day, aren't they, basically? Yep. I think we also need a reformation in the UK, because I think the elites, the establishment who believe we're all these racists, we're Islamophobes or whatever, are trying to project their values, their beliefs, their culture onto these cultures, and they don't conceptually understand the actual way they think and the way they behave and the things they can do because of their culture. They don't believe it's possible. They don't believe a brown person can do these things because they're projecting what they want these people to be like, because they want to embrace diversity, multiculturalism or whatever. So they're either ignoring Nick, or they're choosing, or they're projecting their own beliefs and their own morals onto this society, and it's not the same, is it? They
believe they believe in the reality that they've made up for themselves.
Yes.
Have you heard the story of the frog and the scorpion?
Yes, I have heard the frog and the scorpion
quickly
story.
for listeners, it's a frog and a scorpion are on a tiny bit of land, and it's flooding, and it's about to flood over this little bit of land, and the frog's not worried, he can swim away. The scorpion says to the frog, "Could I jump on your back and can you take me to the other side of the bank?" And the frog goes, "No, because you'll sting me and kill me." And the scorpion goes, "No, I promise I won't, because if I sting you, you'll die, and we'll both drown in the water. I won't do that." So the frog goes, "Okay." Scorpion jumps on his back. He swims halfway across the river, and the scorpion stings him in the back. And the frog cries out, "Why? Why have you done this? We're both going to die." And the scorpion goes, "I'm a scorpion. It's what I do."
And the parallel there, it's a great story. I love that story. Yeah, he says it's in my nature. I can't help it. And we the British have got a scorpion on our back at the moment, haven't we? That's the reality of it. And the people in charge don't believe there's a scorpion there, or don't want to believe.